Welcome to Deep Dive Daily.
Good morning, Andy. Good morning to everyone except for the Boston Celtics fans. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh
What a 24 hours. I obviously had a deep emotional connection to the Celtics last year, as a lot of my 2024 win-loss depended on them doing good things. And so it's sad to see Tatum go down like this and see the Celtics basically go out like this. But the environment and the energy last night at Madison Square Garden was awesome until the Tatum injury. That game was just like electric and unbelievable. And then when you first see the Tatum injury, you're kind of like, this is convenient. And then you watch the replay and you're like, oh, he got sniped.
There was a tweet similar to that where it was a Boston fan, and he said the first time I saw the injury, it's like, oh no, the season's over. And then I saw the slow-mo replay and I said, oh no, next season's over.
Oh no.
Because it's the fact that this happened in like mid-May. I mean, his return might be playoffs next year.
Maybe.
You know, sometimes these are like a full fucking year.
Yeah. Durant missed a full season.
Yeah.
And it was about the same time, right? A little bit later, it was a Western.
Yeah. What if they're like a 4 seed? They're a dog in the first round. It's like, oh, it's 50-50. This is okay. Let's roll Tatum out there. Like,
no.
Feels like you keep them on the shelf if it's even close. So yeah, it's a bad one. I didn't stay up for the late game. I was sleepy. Two things. Slept like shit the night before. Because there's an owl and my dogs want to murder the owl. And when the owl makes noise, they freak out. So like, I love having the windows and the screen door open and just having fresh air roll in at night.
Of course.
It's the best kind of sleeping. Had to turn the AC on and close the windows up because the dogs were just like every 20 minutes losing their mind over this owl and waking us up. So, which moves to part two. I went to bed early last night and I wanted to sleep good. So I took some melatonin. I have some gummies.
Sure.
Which they don't make me groggy, but you wake up confused. I do. And I looked at my alarm went off and I giggled. I'm like, what? Why would I have this on? It's Saturday. 1,000% sure it was Saturday. It's not like it's been a long week and it's like, oh, it's Saturday now. It was just Saturday. I have no idea because my kid, like 10 minutes later, he's like, are we late? And he just doesn't understand the days are getting longer because it's so bright out when we wake up. I had plenty of time to get ready, but bad feeling thinking it's Saturday and it's not even close. It's not like Friday, like, oh, it's off by a day. It's goddamn Tuesday. So, yeah, going to be a long week, and all that said, obviously, I did not stay up to watch the game. Do you have thoughts? I haven't even read a recap. I looked at the score. That's all I had time for this morning. Thoughts on Timberwolves playing well last night, I guess.
Well, the Warriors outplayed them significantly in the first half. Ant makes the buzzer beater 3 to kind of keep the margin very respectable at halftime, and then apparently he just went bananas, getting people fired up at halftime. And then they did the patented use the Warriors sword against them, and they took the third quarter and just went absolutely nuclear on their ass, and the Warriors had no answer. Jimmy Butler looks old and slow. Draymond Green couldn't really get his troops going, and ultimately the final score was only a 7-point margin, but that was because the scrubs for the Warriors closed like 14 points of that 21-point gap. So it looks better at the end of the day. But ultimately that was a clear, like, the Timberwolves finally pulled their head out of their ass in the second, in the third quarter of that game and really kicked ass. So, yeah, that's probably it. 11-point favorites now for game 5. Be a little bit of a shocker if the Warriors can force a game 6. Curry is not going in game 5. We know that for sure. 11.5 points is a big number. Very tempted to take that with Golden State. With Boston and New York, that's maybe a little bit more interesting to handicap here. So without Tatum involved, it's actually really tricky to figure out how to get 240 minutes for the Celtics team. you're putting a lot of minutes on a lot of guys who are, not expected to be kind of the guy, and or a little bit on the older side who may not be able to handle 40. And so it gets dicey when you're trying to project Celtics. And it sounds like Sam Hauser may be back. And, I was just kind of going through with the first crack on this. I got 112, 107, 64% chance the Celtics win and force a game 6. 5-point spread would be my number, and it is now at 5. So the market is exactly correct with the adjustment of no Tatum, from what I can tell you. And the Celtics probably have a full heart perform in them after, losing the way they did and losing their MVP for the foreseeable future. The kind of getting involved with the Celtics series or East right now feels a little stupid. And in fact, I'm going to say the dumbest thing that I've said on our deep dive daily since we started doing these, which is the minute that happened, I kind of wanted to bet more Cavs. Because I was like, Cavs are going to be favored the next 4 games. If they just do come back on the Pacers, they're going to, the current price implies they're going to be a pick.
I would have loved to know. I don't know if this was a market.
Come on.
I know there was like exactas for, who makes the finals, or you could have just made your own of the parlay. A New York, Indiana, Eastern Conference Finals. I wonder what the
50-1.
Yeah. Feels, but
big
honestly,
number.
it feels like the most likely thing right now. As big of favorites as the Celtics and Cavs were to get at least to the finals, or the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. Not great. But yeah, the Cavs are going to be the big decision point for me. And what do I do with that? Because I think
you probably just ride. You just ride.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Or buy out a little bit. Don't put more on them. There's 3 things you can do.
Yeah.
You can hedge, you can double down, or you can just ride it out. I think the doubling down is probably the worst idea.
Let's talk about the long-term implications here. So
the
Tatum injury alters the entire league for the next 5 years? Not the entire league, James. Just the East, because the West is absolutely star-studded, super deep. Anyone could win the West. Or West goes through the Thunder, but like the Spurs are going to get real good real quick. The Mavericks might get good pretty quickly. Like there's certainly some life left in the Lucers, and then it's not the Clippers aren't just going to tear this thing down. And I think there's still a bunch of really good fun, and you have Jokic still in the West, so there's still a bunch of really good. The Rockets, I didn't even mention them. The West is absolutely loaded. The East is now is like a graveyard. Like the Knicks might be the best team in the East going forward, which is crazy to say that out loud. But this probably, to me at least, prevents the Cavaliers from doing something brash, right? Like the Cavaliers, if they lose, let's say they lose tonight, Pacers move on. People aren't going to be all that surprised. The injuries really bit them in the ass in this round in particular. But there is a world where they don't even get to an Eastern Conference. They won 64 games, but they didn't take a step forward this year. There's a world where they do something a little bit reactionary and tear the team apart. And now with Tatum not in it next year, like the Cavs probably look at their roster, look what they did in the regular season, and assume like, okay, well, we should be the clear and healthy favorite to win the East this year. We're going to run it back, right? Knicks, same sort of kind of thought process. Pacers, same sort of thought process. Giannis is probably leaving the Bucks, although I think that's more like 50-50. But if Giannis goes to the West, then now the East is an absolute barren wasteland. And the Celtics, who might be literally potentially 6 to 8 point dogs next year against this year's Celtics, if you wanted to have that conversation, like an 8-point downgrade as far as net rating for them without Tatum and whatever other pieces they move off from this offseason, like they could still be your 4 seed in the Eastern Conference because it's going to be that weak.
I know, I said that like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
When I was talking about it's weird.
I don't think that was a crazy hypothetical at all. Like start pricing your Celtics Magic 4-5 series now.
God, I don't want to watch that.
You know that's coming though.
And
I mean, it does
KP
have
plays
that.
like 1.5 games of that. No Tatum. Magic plus 120. I'll take it.
Yeah, the East. We might be entering a 5-year run of just the Western Conference being like the NFC of the 1990s.
Look, we're rolling it back to the 1950s, and not just because of some of the policy changes the government's making. The NBA runs through Minneapolis again.
Oh, I didn't
There we
even mention
go.
this.
There we go.
I
I mean, obviously, Oklahoma City is a better team, and they
both
will
Matt
be.
and Tim had the same sort of thought. Does Boston start selling off pieces in the offseason? Sees moving off Holiday and KP for money next season. They might be moving off Holiday and KP for money and performance. Honestly, like getting some of the younger guys like Cornette and Hauser and Pritchard more minutes at the expense of not playing KP and Holiday. That makes sense to me next year. They might be this is going to be a developmental season for them. They're going to bring in a bunch of younger pieces to backfill and move their young guys up. Holiday looks very old. Horford looks very old. KP is an absolute brittle, fragile nothing burger in this series. So it's it definitely is going to look different. But I think you still have two super important foundational pieces in Derek White and Jaylen Brown. So it is almost certainly still going to be a competitive team next year. I don't think there's a full-on sell-off. But talk about buying the top. The Celtics were recently sold, Andy, for several $billion.
So here's the thing, like,
and I think the expectation was champion. This is we're on the cusp of a dynasty here, and now all of a sudden,
I know, but still, like, team success and team valuation aren't always crazy correlated. Like
sure.
team valuation and time passing are very correlated. Like, teams just don't get cheaper. Like, if you're in it for a long haul and it wasn't just I want some banners, I want this to be a good investment. It was a good investment. You buy a big team in a big market, you're fine. Every team goes up. Like, you go look at the valuation of some of these teams 10 years. I mean, even just the Commanders, what they sold for compared to what they were bought. Obviously, they were bought quite a while ago, but like, the team hadn't done jack shit for 30 years, and look how much it sold for. It just team valuation goes up and to the right. And that's a fun, quick segue into the NFL. I don't want to talk about all of them, because honestly, the schedule rollout bores me to tears. I do not care. It does not change my ratings. There's some situation. If you're betting situational spots in May, I really think you might want to take that money and do something else with it. So go find it. Go find a fucking index fund. But the interesting one is there are way too many international games. Like, the announcements, like, how many games are internet? There's like 100 of them now. But the interesting one to me is the Vikings will do the double dip this year, not the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And they will do it. Honestly, it's like the difference of playing in, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, which is funny because those are the two teams.
Those are the two teams. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to look at the miles traveled between Dublin and London and see how far they are compared to Pittsburgh and Cleveland now, because Minnesota will play an early 9:30 in the morning Eastern game in Dublin at what I believe is a rugby park. I think it might be soccer. I don't know. I could be misspoken there. Against, I think that one is the Steelers.
Steelers in Dublin, Browns in London. Yeah.
And then the second, then they'll go to Tottenham and play the Browns the next week. So they kind of fucked the Vikings by making them do the big travel, but they gave them two shitty teams at least, or two shitty rosters at least right now. So it feels like if JJ is playing well, you should be able to go 2-0 and have the nice little bump of having your time clock fixed for the Browns game. But that's JJ McCarthy. McCarthy, a very Irish name, I would think.
Yeah.
It's got DMC in it, maybe Scottish.
It definitely looks like it's further from Dublin to London than it is from Pittsburgh to Cleveland. Like that's just a 2-hour drive. It's an hour flight.
I think you probably fly Dublin to
You
London.
gotta fly. You gotta fly
You,
because
you
you
know
gotta
what
go
you
over the
take?
water.
You know what
You don't take the
airline you
ferry.
take?
Which one? Ryanair?
No.
What?
Aer Lingus.
Aer Lingus. Okay.
That one always makes me laugh.
I love it.
Probably Ryanair though. I think you probably take your own plane, right?
You take your own plane. Yeah. If you're a fan of the Vikings and you're making a whole trip of it, though, then you fly Lingus.
That's a fun
Lingus.
one. That's a fun one.
And actually, that's a nice thing that they did is they gave the Vikings fans a reason to really kind of go do an Ireland UK week. And the fact that you get your young team to spend a full week in a little mini camp over in the UK and you get the body clock advantage over Cleveland, that's sick. I
want to see
really
shots of them like doing blocking sled stuff on Stonehenge, and like there's no team is like taking advantage of some fun
Stonehenge,
some
Scotland.
Fun I don't know. I think it's in England somewhere.
Oh, okay. Well,
you history buffs too. This is a fun one. As
Salisbury, UK.
Yeah, about 1,000 years ago, this is also occurring where the Vikings would raid the shores of this big island, moving from port to port as they went, known as the Danes. So a little fun historical context for you as well, is the Vikings will probably loot and plunder, I would assume.
Man, I had no idea. Stonehenge is like southwest London. It's kind of over near Southampton and Bournemouth.
It is
no idea.
Crazy how good. I assume you're pretty good at geography.
Pretty good.
Like I bet there are like 150 U.S. cities where I could look at the state and get it pretty close to where they are within that state.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
I can't even like get the Canadian provinces right. Like I couldn't put the prairie provinces in order. I couldn't get I probably know them all. I couldn't get Montreal anywhere where it is. And you think about that in England, I could probably put London and like Liverpool where they go, and that's it. And Liverpool only because I look for the little river.
Manchester,
the rest,
too, probably.
Manchester, but some of that other stuff, like the geography of other countries, they just don't teach that shit in school. You got to learn the states and the capitals, and then let's move on. Here's where England is.
You end up learning about foreign country kind of geography when you plan a trip there, usually,
Yeah.
And
I know like German geography, or when you go somewhere, then you learn.
If you're a Vikings fan, it's time to learn Dublin pub culture and spend a week in the UK. This is a fun time. I'm with you in not caring much about the schedule release, but I will, old man of cloud, say I was disappointed in the Dallas Philly opener.
Yeah,
I don't like you could put that week 10 425 on Fox, like that doesn't. I don't need to have the Cowboys in my face on banner night for the Eagles. Like
that was my I forgot to mention this too. That was my idea for some long form ones. I kind of wanted to do some rapid shot through, and maybe we split it up into AFC and NFC, 2 different podcasts.
Sure.
I'm doing some work on free agency and draft and seeing if like maybe we don't touch on every team, because I think there's a bunch of teams where it's like, this not much change. But I think there's at least 10 to 15 teams where free agency and the draft made me change some power numbers. And I think that's interesting. So I wanted to give you time to play with yours first, but we'll talk about that. I think that's a fun podcast we can do here in a week or 2.
I need a lot of time for that.
I was going to say not tomorrow.
The big kind of head scratcher surprises, wanted to know. I'm always a little curious. What games are we watching on Thanksgiving? What games are we watching on Christmas? Now that the NFL has taken over Christmas, and we know one of the Christmas games.
They let the Black Friday game out.
They let the Black Friday game out, but the Christmas games are a bit of a mystery because they put those 2 Saturday games together, and you assume they were going to do what they did last year and flip-flop the Saturday games, but that's not happening because Philly is playing Green Bay at a completely different time in the calendar, week 10. So I don't know what the other Christmas games are going to be. It's a mystery. I'm assuming one of them is Washington, Chicago, which is fun. Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams late in the season would be awesome.
It'd be a good throwback jersey game because they both have really freaking putrid throwbacks from like the 50s and 60s. Just like wear the terrible blue and orange striped jerseys.
I like it. All right. We'll save more thoughts for that when the whole schedule comes out, I suppose. The Commanders Packers for Christmas. Oh, Commanders Packers is
That's fun.
That's good.
It's a good game.
Okay. Have they announced that? I don't even know. Anyway, let's Christmas is a Thursday this year. Yes. The
Sure.
So the general kind of rest of sports betting if this week is getting ready for the PGA Championship, I suppose. We'll talk about that some more tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Not gonna spoil that. Talk a little bit about Rome tomorrow. I don't have anything else today. I had Diana Schneider, who completely fucking collapsed against Jasmine Paolini. So that sucks. Tomorrow I have all eyes on Andreeva Goff and whether Andreeva can she break through and finally get the better of Coco Gauff. She's played her three times and lost all three, including in Madrid in the quarterfinals, which was not a super competitive match. But Andreeva, to me, is the one to keep an eye on. They're pretty competitively rated right now, in terms of what is a neutral fair. So if Andreeva can solve Gauff, that makes her more of a likely candidate to win the French Open, and that's what we all are curious about.
All eyes on me.
Real quick commentary on the Preakness, and then we'll.
I was gonna say we'll probably touch more on Preakness Thursday and Friday as well. But I have done zero Preakness. I couldn't even tell you who is the early week favorite right now.
It is Journalism, Andy. Journalism, who was your Kentucky Derby favorite and second runner. He drew the 2, and he will go off as a healthy favorite for this race. The other racers that you may remember from the Derby who are here include American Promise and Sandman. Sandman, not really expecting to be much of a factor here, as he is a dead nut closer and a goofy ass runner. And this is the sprint of the Triple Crown, if you will. Yeah. Notable absences are your Kentucky Derby winner. Sovereignty is not running the Preakness, so the Triple Crown bid over before it started. And we'll see him again at the Belmont, where he's going to be a healthy favorite, and we'll see him again a lot this year, as he's going to win a lot of races this year, and they're probably smart to not run him back out in a race that's not his preferred distance in just 2 weeks rest. So Sovereignty getting the weekend off, prepping for the Belmont Stakes in 3 weeks from now. The newcomers of note, goal oriented is the one that matters the most. He is your Stone Street Farms Baffert Barn newcomer. He won one of the undercard races, if you remember, on Derby Day, race 3. He went wire to wire. He was an absolute stomping winner. He was great. And they have elevated him in his third start now for his first ever graded stakes. And he's going to go off probably as your second choice. He drew the 1 hole. He's got some speed. And this is setting up for a Baffert versus Journalism for the 50th time this season. Journalism has beaten all the Baffert comers. Will he do it again? Tune in on Saturday for the 150th running of the Preakness Stakes.
Yeah, I'll watch some horses this weekend. Not a lot going on. Closing thoughts, no bets in tonight's game. Cleveland -7.5, OKC -10.5. Nothing on the cider total. You promised you weren't gonna.
I didn't play anything. No, I had to double check. No, didn't play anything.
Okay. I'm also passing on the NBA tonight.
Okay. Did you hit anything in the lottery last night, out of curiosity?
Did not bet the NBA lottery. I do have to grab something.
Bets were avoided.
Let me grab something from the freezer. Oh, that's an envelope.
And the
I'm not a big rigged guy, but boy, that was convenient. That was the best outcome for content.
No question.
For like Twitter content. So it was very funny. 50-to-1s win golf and tournaments all the time. Things happen. It's, they had like a 1.8% chance. Sometimes
I got to tell you, they a pretty prominent book free rolled us on the lottery. Now that I'm looking at my results, the winning bet got voided, the losing bets got counted, and they're all placed at the same time. How about
Interesting.
that?
Interesting.
Huh. Sometimes you think you're getting a free lunch, and in reality, you're getting taken out to the woodshed.
No such thing.
Interesting.
As a free lunch. Oh yeah. I still don't know what food I'm gonna make.
Tune in tomorrow to find out, I guess, right?
Yeah, tune in tomorrow. Bring in the hot plate, baby.
Man, now I'm kind of annoyed about this.
We'll have to talk about that. Maybe we'll have to raise a stink.
Send a note.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right, guys. Good luck. I got to go do a golf show here with Noonan in a minute. 5 minutes. It's kind of like my haircut. I don't have to go very far for it. It will be in the same studio. I'm not moving at all. So appreciate you guys. If you have an opinion for what we should cook tomorrow for the PGA Championship, please let me know. I can do it Thursday too. It doesn't matter. It's not like, got to get it in under the wire, otherwise it doesn't count.
That's true. All right, best luck, guys. Go Thunder.